According to Rabindranath Tagore, literature, music and the arts are all necessary to form an integrated total personality of a student. But sadly, this is far from the reality in India. Hello and welcome to the State of Culture. There is a debate going on in the country as to why the arts have not been accorded the stature of a subject in schools, despite their importance in developing a child's personality. Well, a recent initiative between the UK and India aims to amend this. We bend our usual format today to bring you a lively discussion on this subject with those who are a part of this initiative. To my left is Graham Sheffield, Director Arts Worldwide, British Council. Next to him sits Professor Pawan Sudhir, Head Department of Education in Arts and Aesthetics, NCERT. And next to her is Professor Kirti Jain, Advisor Theatre and Education Program at the National School of Drama. And next to Kirti ji is Mohit Chauhan, a well-known singer, composer and a songwriter. Welcome to all of you on the show. Now, my first question to you, Graham, is what is this World Voice Project and the Conference on Arts Education all about?
Well, you refer, first of all, I think Rabindranath Tagore was absolutely right, and he's probably even more right today than he was then, because the new economy and all the new skills that are required from young people today will demand a much higher creative and imaginative input than when Tagore was alive. So, direct answer to your question, the World Voice Project is just a brilliant piece of timing, because we've been looking for a way to develop our arts program in the British Council, and it's a project that will bring together in song young people from across the world. So it will give young people from roughly between 8 and 14 the chance to sing in school with their colleagues and to exchange songs and practice with other school children from around the world. And we're piloting it in India, and it has enormous potential to be rolled out across the world, and also huge potential in India. And we're going to use our networks with our Indian colleagues working with NCERT, a brilliant partnership to help develop this project together, to share skills, creativity and experience.
Well, skills and creativity also include theatre and poetry and painting, for instance. So is it exclusively music that you're going to focus on?
This is exclusively music, but happily, because of the timing, we're also starting a project which to work with our Indian colleagues on curriculum resource and teacher training across the art forms. So we will be working with them through our British Council programme to help skill up teachers, but also using visits by UK artists to this country in order to provide, again, content for the programme, and also to approach the whole programme of arts education in a more coherent way. So it isn't just a British company coming over, doing a couple of workshops and then going back to the UK. We want to do this in a more strategic way to help develop the arts education sector in India, and also to help it in the UK, because we have the same problem in the UK, arguing the case for the importance of arts in the curriculum, as you alluded to in your discussion. So I think this kind of international collaboration can help us all make that kind of argument to our respective governments.
Yes. Is it just a UK and India initiative at the moment, or are there other countries involved?
Well, the Arts Education Project is just UK-India, but the World Voice Programme is World Voice, but we're piloting it in India and in Senegal at the moment.
Pavanji, the arts education has always been a priority in the education policy of our government.
Yeah.
For instance, as early as 1952-53 in the report of the Education Commission, the Kothari Commission report of 1964-66, the National Policy of Education in 1986, the National Curriculum Frameworks, NCEPs, of 1975, 1988, 2000, 2005, and various other committees have highlighted the importance and relevance of an arts education. Then why does it still not have the status of a subject in schools, or if it does, it's not given the same importance as other mainstream subjects?
Yeah, first of all, I would like to correct you. I know it's not your mistake, but this is a general opinion that arts is not a subject. NCF 2005, National Curriculum Framework 2005, is the landmark NCF where arts education has been introduced as a curricular area, and it has equal importance to other subjects from class 1 to 10. So in NCERT, NCF 2005, we deal with arts education two ways. One is arts education as a subject from class 1 to 10 for every child, and another arts education as an approach across the curriculum. So let me clarify that when we say approach, all subjects can be integrated in art, or say art can be basis of learning and development, and it's already happening. But as you know, India is such a vast country, and NCERT being advisory body cannot really implement it. We can only recommend. Then our state partners gradually start implementing it.
Kirti ji, the NSD has a program called Theatre in Education. How widespread is it in schools in Delhi or maybe outside of Delhi? And what is the TIE's role in this initiative?
Well, the TIE company that we started was initially started just to perform for children. You know, as a drama school which has theatre professionals, it was started for the purpose of performing from the point of view of children, so a different kind of performance by adults for children. But then we found that there were several other areas to be worked on. For instance, the moment you look at a child's perspective, the school establishments start feeling threatened, and they feel that this is not right. You can't be disrespecting teachers, you can't be disrespecting parents. So it took us a lot of time to convince them on that. But then it also graduated to doing teacher training workshops, workshops with parents, workshops with teachers, had to travel to different places to popularize the idea. So I must say that having started in '89, the kind of impact it should have had over this period of time, I don't think it has had, but it has certainly created an awareness in teachers, in schools, in children about this concept of interface between education and theatre, and how effective a means it can be to develop a child's personality, to create a better sorted out, or let's say more aware child. You know, education in the real sense, when he questions things, when he finds answers for himself, makes his own choices. As far as this particular initiative is concerned, I'm sure at some point we will be involved in this, but right now NSD, because it has been feeling concerned that it also needs to consolidate its theatre and education program, has started a one-year training program for theatre and education in Tripura. So in collaboration with the Tripura government. So it's a kind of pilot project which is taking students from the theatre stream interested in education and taking students from the education stream interested in theatre, so that this one-year course is creating the interface between education and theatre in different ways. We are hoping that these people will get into schools, some who can teach theatre in schools, and some who can use theatre as an approach or as a tool to teach various subjects.
So if it's a successful experiment, will you replicate it elsewhere?
We wish to, because I think, you know, sort of when this national curriculum framework came and it said that theatre will be introduced as a subject, it was very exciting at one level, but at another it was very frightening that where are the people who will teach this? And if you once get the wrong people into it, then it really destroys the whole initiative. So we're really very worried, and it was out of that worry that this initiative was taken, and we have got a very positive response from some other states. They want to start a similar course. So let's hope that it'll get replicated fast.
Right. Now, Mohit, you've been selected as the World Voice Champion for India.
Yes.
And why have you been selected for it? What's your personal view on that?
You know, I think that question you have to ask Graham over there.
Why do you think you've been selected?
You know, I'm really delighted to be part of this initiative, which has been brought about by British Council and NCERT. And you know, as a practicing musician, I mean, I was practicing music since I was a kid, but you know, I became a professional musician about 17, 18 years back. And I myself didn't have much formal training in music, but when I meet kids, when I go home and I, you know, meet kids in my family, I think it's really important to have fine arts as part of the main syllabus. You know, not like I love to say that, you know, when I was a kid in school, And because I used to sing like a little better than other guys, every time there was a free class, I would be asked to stand up in the class and sing a song, and that was the end of it. You know, nobody gave me marks for that. But I think it's really important for the overall development of the personality, of understanding of other cultures as well as your own culture. You know, like people I think are not really in touch with their own folk music in many places, the younger generation, you know, because the film music, the modern pop music, everything is so powerful. So I think, you know, kids should be initiated into the fine arts and, you know, made to understand the beauty of the world, which they'll understand through music, through painting, through these kind of things.
Yeah, you said something very interesting. You said you were never given any marks for it.
Yeah.
Do you think one of the reasons why it is not considered important here in India, because it's not really evaluated? What do you feel? I'll come to you on that. Yes. And of course there are not enough teachers who are trained to teach students.
I think that's obviously, you're absolutely right. That's one of the reasons we're embarking on this project, is to equip a larger body of teachers with the confidence to deal with this. But I also think it's not impossible to mark the arts. I mean, there is an associated board system that goes out globally which marks children in singing and instrumental playing and so on. The danger of that is that it becomes just like another subject, and that children learn just to get the marks and not for a deeper satisfaction. And that's often parents who are pushing their children into the exam system so that it looks good on their resume when they apply for the next school. I'm much more keen, though I think technical accomplishment is very strong, is very important. I'm much keener to ensure that the creative potential of children is aroused and exploited from an early age. And that's why I think Mohit was probably chosen. I wasn't my personal choice because I didn't know you, but it was obviously a very clever choice because from the team here in India, because it's somebody who's very charismatic, forgive me for flattering you in that way, but somebody with whom the children can identify and enjoy performing with, and doesn't talk down to them.
Right. Now, Pawanji, I wanted to ask you, we've discussed evaluation. Wouldn't it be very hard to get parents to accept this as a subject unless, of course, you guarantee them that the children will get a job? It will be like a diploma or a degree, because that is very important in this country. Even I have noticed children as young as in the 5th or 6th standard discussing what they will do when they grow up.
Yeah.
So they are going to take the subjects accordingly. I'm going to be a doctor, so I have to take the science stream. I'm taking the art stream to become a teacher in history or a historian. So how difficult will it be for you to get parents to accept this?
You are very much right. Thinking of the vertical linkages in higher education and opportunity for jobs, so I should say professional opportunity, because everybody cannot become such a good singer or accepted that fast as Mohit was done, because he is a very good combination of classical as well as folk music, and he could do that very well, and I was fortunate to get those kind of opportunity in spite of not being professionally trained for that. But there are many artists who are not getting jobs and they change their line for their survival. So you are very much right that we have to work on that. But if you look at the job profiles nowadays, I think whether it's even in the marketing companies, we are getting art graduates employed, because now things are more integrated. Everywhere you need professionals who are also sensitive towards arts and aesthetics. Nothing sells if it's not artistically or aesthetically appreciated.
Yes.
So there is lot of opportunities now, and our youngsters and even families, in spite of going into science stream and commerce stream, they opt for these subjects as extra subjects, so that if they don't get a good opportunity in these streams,
they can go on to the finance.
And if you go to NID, you will find that there is more than 50% of such cases where students of science and commerce has opted for
art stream.
Yes. You wanted to say something?
I just wanted to add something, if I might, is that I just think because you're doing arts and music or drama at school doesn't necessarily mean you have to go into the profession. What I think it means is that at the new economies, the economies of the 2020s and the 2030s, are not going to be manufacturing economies. They're going to be economies that demand a different set of skills: creative skills, intuitive skills, interpretative skills, analytical skills. And I think an arts training gives you a lot of that. And I think we've got to argue the case to parents that it's not just because your child wants to study piano or an Indian instrument or go to drama. It doesn't necessarily mean he's going to become an actor, but it will give him or her a set of skills that will be right for the new economy. And I think that's not just the case for India, but I think it's the case across the world.
We're going in for a brief break. We'll be back in a few moments. Stay on the other side of your television sets. Like I said, we'll be back soon. Welcome back to the State of Culture and a debate about the importance of an art education in Indian schools. The National School of Drama is a professional school, and people who graduate from there are only actors or directors. So how are you going to help there? How is your institution going to help in this effort?
Well, you know, when the theatre and education comes into the picture, I think it's a highly career-oriented direction, because this is the only area where we can say that you are almost guaranteed to be employed, which we can't say to actors and which we can't say to directors. So this, I think, as far as those who are interested in theatre is concerned, this, I think, is the best career option, that they're able to continue to do what they like to do and yet earn a living, and it is extremely satisfying. So for us, this is the time when the course needs trained people, and theatre people or you know, sort of people interested in creativity and you know, sort of these kind of arts will most likely get a job, because this, you know, the whole sector needs these people, trained people who can handle arts training and who can help interface. You know, the most important part is really interface with different subjects. As he said, that with the changing times, all streams will need these inputs. And there's just no possibility of remaining isolated. In fact, I feel that more and more people quite appreciate the fact that, you know, sort of there's one such possibility there, that you can do physics, chemistry and theatre, so that, you know, sort of that aspect of your child's personality is also developing.
Mohit, you don't have any formal training in music.
That's right.
So do you still feel that it's important to give training, formal education in music? Because you made a name for yourself and you don't have any degrees or diplomas in music. And I'm sure people who are talented and who sing, I'm not sure that they would need that.
But I think that's a different thing, because you can go to any school in the world, I think, but nobody can teach you how to compose. You know, people can tell you music, they can tell you the technicalities, but how to make a tune in your head, I think that's something that comes to you, you know, from thin air, actually. And what I personally believe is that, you know, if, for example, if you are into fine arts as a young person, I think it's quite fluid, you know, because if you're learning music, you might feel beautiful inside, but then because of the aesthetic sense, because of the freedom that you experience, you might want to experience photography after some time. You might want to go into theater, for example. You know, I used to be a theater person before I became a professional musician. And at one point of time, I wanted to join the FTII, the Film and Television Institute of India, and I used to think I'll become an actor, you know, and I used to do plays in Himachal. I used to be part of a semi-professional theater group, and I used to sing songs at the same time. But when the opportunity came, you know, I didn't get the opportunity to become an actor in the films, but I got the opportunity to, you know, put across a song of mine, and I took it, you know. So for me, I think it's all these arts, you can just slip from one to the other, because it's basically the same thing, you know.
Now, Mohit said that he was not trained, and we are debating whether training is important at all in the arts. So I think, Kirti, you wanted to say something about
I do want to say that, you know, sort of I personally feel that propagating the fact that it is not important, it only undermines their importance, number one, because I think it does include a series of skills. Apart from skills, I think the training itself has to be a kind of training which triggers the imagination, which helps you think of alternatives, which gives you a language of expression. So I think a training is to give you a set of these rules, grammar, whatever it is, which are to be broken if you wish to. But unless there is a sound base, it's very often, I mean, Mohit may be an exception, but I think you do need a sound base to break away from it or to stay within it and experiment and create. I think it always makes for a more long-term artist and for a more meaningful expression if you have that base.
Right. Pawan, you wanted to add something to this?
Yes, adding to what she said, I feel that when we have arts as subject in curriculum, it's not to make artists out of every child. It's for learning and development of that person. And of course, there will be such students in the class, but there are others who need it for their development. So training and arts as subject and then training of that subject is very, very important. Like we have mathematics, but we are sure that not every child is going to be mathematician. Not every child is going to be a scientist. Similarly, every child who is having this experience of different art forms may not grow as an artist, but of course, an art lover and would have better aesthetic sensibility. So that way, arts and training of arts for every child is very, very, very important.
Yeah, I echo that. I mean, I think, you know, that I've just been reading some statistics from, and I don't often rely on statistics, but they're so overwhelming, from creative partnerships in the UK, which show that in recent years, headmasters report overwhelmingly, I mean, the statistics are between 85 and 95% of schools and children that encounter the arts in a rigorous way during their school career show massive increase in confidence, in attainment, in social skills and in motivation. This doesn't mean to say they're all going to become artists, but they make them better people, and that must have a benefit for society. And yes, of course they've got to do maths, and yes, of course they've got to do English or Indian history, but the people skills they will develop through the arts are incalculably valuable.
Right. And what about the curriculum? What are you proposing in that?
Well, I think that we need to flip the politicians in both countries, frankly. We haven't got all the solutions. We're not lily white in this. We're struggling as well as the arts sector. Yes, of course, there's got to be there's got to be a basic grounding in reading, writing and arithmetic, but actually it's not acceptable simply to relegate the arts to an optional add-on. Now, the difficulty is, of course, the curriculum becomes very congested, and it's always the arts that get put to one side when it becomes congested. And I would contest the wisdom of that, given the economic arguments, the social arguments I've made earlier in the programme.
What are your plans for the next, say, 5 years?
We are already with the plans, because we do have plans, 5-year plans, what all we need to achieve in these 5 years. See, the first agenda item is to take art integrated learning to every primary school. So arts as an approach and arts as a subject at primary level. For that, we have joined hand with British Council. Then the Right to Education 2009. You know that arts is a mandatory part of elementary education. So we are developing training materials for 3 months, 6 months and 1-year courses to those teachers who are trained in art forms. They have the skill, but they do not learn the pedagogy of it.
Who are your partners?
We are exploring. Already there are many people. This, for example, CCRT. When we go to them, we take their skills and we integrate it with other subjects of education. So we are exploring with CCRT. We have already started working with National Museum, and because Museum in Education and Education in Museum, we have one module, and these partnerships are not that easy at the moment, because we somehow have learned to work in compartments. So it is taking lot of efforts to bring everybody on board, and I'm very happy that British Council is already there, and we are comfortable. We have done 2 programs, and we are seeing that is helping, is really helping in quality upliftment of education.
How does performance help in this quality upliftment
Of the child?
of the child?
Oh, I think you name it and it's there. I think to begin with, just to learn that people are different. You know, you work in a group and you learn to interact with them. So the social skills really
When you're
improve.
rehearsing for a performance?
When you're rehearsing or when you come together to do theatre. So it's whether it's a workshop or anything. I think learning to to adjust with differences is a big thing that they learn in this process. Confidence, of course, everybody talks about, but when you have the discipline and you actually come to perform, or even have to say a little poem, in a group, I think you need to get over your inhibition. You have to learn that, okay, I can say it in this group now. I feel easy with the group. Finding outlets to, a creative outlet of what you feel, how you emote, how you respond to what your parents did to you or said to you, or what your teacher said to you. Now, to get these outlets, we don't have the kind of system we have is a very hierarchical system. This is the only space, at least in the TIE, where they feel that this is not hierarchical, and therefore they can open up, and therefore they can say what they feel.
Mohit, I just wanted to ask you, you said that it helps in the development of a child. Music helps in the development of a child's personality. What are the qualities that a child imbibes if he's either learning music or singing by himself? For instance, when you were a child, what did you feel when you sang?
Oh, whenever, I think music by itself can transport you. It makes you dream. It can make you think of stories. It can make you dream of beautiful places that you've never been to.
Makes you less aggressive?
Definitely. It does.
Less combative?
Your
less
aesthetic sense,
yes, yeah, I think so,
probably will improve.
Yeah.
And all the things that she was talking about,
that's
your
very important,
social skills and
today.
Confidence and I think, like Graham was saying, make you a wholesome, better person, and that's the possibility.
Yeah. Graham, is there something that you wanted to say? Because
well, it's only just you said what we went to be in 5 years. I think, as somebody said the other day, if you knew where you were going to be all the time in 5 years, what's the point in doing it? The part of the fun of doing this is that we're going to explore together where we're going to go. We're in this whole program with colleagues here is part of a even grander scheme of the British Council to explore in a very mutual and reciprocal way a new relationship with India. Culturally, intellectually, educationally, and so on. And we're just at the starting point of that. We've done a lot of research, we've consulted with Indian colleagues, so we can expect to see a much higher degree and more complex and more profound exchange of ideas across the cultural spectrum over the next 5 years, and that will mean all sorts of debates, but also some fantastic events, both in India and in the UK. So I think it's going to be a much richer, more understanding relationship in the new economy and in the new world we find ourselves.
Great. One last quick question to Mohit. If you were given the opportunity to get a formal training in music today, would you do it?
Yeah, training is good actually.
Do you miss it? Do you feel you would have been a better composer, better musician if you had been formally trained?
See, the possibilities are there, and probably, yeah. Probably. So whenever I get the time.
Never too late.
Never too late. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. It's been most illuminating for me, at least, and I hope for our viewers. I think this is a debate that has been raging in India, and I think it rages worldwide. It's a problem in all, as you mentioned, the British Council has been asked to help in various countries. It's always the arts versus the sciences. What will arts do? And the science will give us a profession, you can reach the moon with it. So I think maybe the world is changing and things will change in the next 5 years everywhere, including India. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, folks, that's all in this episode, and we will return next week, same time, and this time with an event that occurred in the city. Till then, goodbye.